Hi, I'm Jesse at Strobepro.com, and this is the Godox LDX100 LED panel. This is a metal, lightweight, fanless panel that has tons of power, perfectly suited for video or photography. It's available in two different versions, the bicolor and the full RGBW. In this video, we're going to be going in depth into every menu, feature, and function. So follow along with me or skip ahead to a specific area in the chapters below. Let's get into it. I'm going to be unboxing the LDX100R, which is the RGBW version of this light. Now, everything in this package is going to be the same as the bicolor, so don't worry. We'll go over the minor physical differences of the light, but all the accessories are going to be the exact same. So let's open the box here and take a look. So the first thing that you're going to notice is this really nice case here. So both versions, again, come with this case. It's padded, zippered case that opens up all the way. And inside here, we have a number of different things. Now, when you open this up, the first thing you just want to be careful of, if you have this on a desk, you don't want to flip this upside down, because in here we have one of our diffusion panels. Now, the other diffusion panel is installed on the light already, so you'll either have a quarter stop or the half stop diffusion installed here. Normally they put the same one on, but it could flip, so I don't want to specifically say which one will be on there, but that's super easy to switch out if you want to do that. So there's our actual light, and then inside here we have our manual, which isn't entirely useful. And then actually right in here, we have a pocket. And in this pocket, we're going to have a retention strap, and that's going to be for the AC adapter pack here, which is this piece. And then we actually have the plug that goes into the wall. So pretty self-explanatory, plug into this end, into the wall, and then this end would power or plug into the light to power it that way. But we also have the option to purchase V-mount batteries to power this light as well. And then the last thing you have is just this little wire retention strap. So if you want to secure this onto the light, so say around here and then onto your light stand, that just prevents if someone loosens the spigot or something that your light won't come crashing down. However, I do find this one to be quite small for this light, just because you can't really reach it that well. So basically, those are all the pieces. You have an extra kind of foam thing here that's Velcroed, so you can adjust that in the actual case if you want to fine tune that. And you do have a couple of different slots here, so you can put both diffusers in there separated so they won't scratch if you just want to run the light bare. Those are all the pieces. Let's take a closer look at the features of this light. There are two ways to mount this light to a light stand. I just have a little micro stand here for the desk. Obviously, you'll be putting it on a full-size stand, and any of our Strobepro stands will work fine. Our air cushion stands, or even upgrading to something like a C stand, is perfectly suited for any of the LDX versions here. So all you do is just loosen your thumb screw here, and then you can just drop it straight on a standard spigot or even a baby pin if you're using a C-stand. So just make sure you back it all the way off. You're going to drop it on like that and then tighten it down. You also have another way to mount this, which is horizontally. So we can just take that same mount, and it can actually go right this way here. So if you were using this like up in a ceiling or something, you just wanted the flexibility with ceiling height or something, you can mount it horizontally that way. It's really easy to do. The next thing you want to do is secure the yoke mount here, and that's easy to do. You have two knobs on either side. So just securing the actual light, just loosen those guys off, and now you can position that light wherever you want. One of the nice things about this mount is it will actually rotate 360 degrees right around that mount. So you're not going to be limited hitting the bottom of the yoke like you will with a lot of other manufacturers' lights. Once you find a position that you want, just secure it in on both sides, and now you are locked in place. The next thing I want to talk about are these diffusion panels. So I mentioned earlier in the unboxing that you have two different panels. So you have a quarter and a half stop diffusion, and those can easily be removed. And I'll just put this kind of horizontal so you can see here. There's two little clips. So one right here and then the other one right here. And they just snap into place. So really easy to lock and unlock. And then you just take this whole diffusion panel and you can slide it right out. So if you want to run this bare, say you're going to run it through a scrim or you're using it with an umbrella, I'd recommend just running it bare. You're going to get maximum power. But if you are going to be shooting directly, like on an interview or something where the subject looking right at the panel, I would recommend running the diffusion on it. It's just going to be more pleasing for your talent to look at, not so hard on the eyes, so they're going to be squinting less with that diffusion in there. So same way that we remove that, just slide it back in and then push those little tabs down and it is locked. I should also mention that you can get additional accessories with this, so you can pick up a barn door and a softbox is available. I'm not sure if I would purchase the softbox myself, just because it's actually not that much bigger than the actual panel here. So the diffusion itself is kind of doing the same thing as the softbox, but we'll leave that up to you if you want to purchase it separately. We have two different ways to power this light. So the included AC adapter, really self-explanatory. Just plug the cable in the side over here and plug it into the wall and you can run as long as you want. But if you want a more mobile solution, then you can actually pick up optional V-mount batteries. And any V-mount will work. At Strobepro here, we have our VB95 and then our VB190. And the only difference between these two, as you can kind of see from the physical size, is just how, obviously how big they are there, but that determines how long that they can run for. So roughly on this battery at full power on this light, this is a fairly power hungry light because it does have peak wattage of 118 watts and a lot of output. So you can run with the smaller battery here at full power for about 45 minutes. And then with the bigger one, you can run this for about an hour and a half. And again, that's full power. So if you're running less than that, you'll obviously get a lot more runtime. So this is one of the main differences between the LDX50 and then its bigger brother here, the LDX100. The 50 uses two smaller NP750 batteries, where this one you can only use the actual V-mounts here. So you do have an option, say you had a D-tap connection, you could plug into the V-mount and then just into the AC power port here as well to power it that way if you didn't actually want to load it directly onto the back. But let me show you how to attach a V-mount right now. V-mounts get their name from this little V right here on the actual battery, which we need to line up to the receiver. So all you do, bring the battery up, kind of push it against the panel, and then just begin to slide it towards the pin connection. And once it's locked in there, you're going to hear this little lock release pop up and it is secured. Now to power this on, I should also mention that we have a three-way switch here. So in the middle position, it's off. And then if we turn it over to the left right here, that will turn on the battery. And if we turn it the other way, so to the right, that's going to be our AC connection. So if you flip that on and you're just not sure why it's not turning on, it's probably because you flipped it the wrong way. Now to release this battery, same way it came on, but we need to push this pin down. So push the pin, grab the light, and I'm probably going to shake the light here, but just pull back and then the actual V-mount will pop right off. Which version of this light is right for you? Let's compare a couple of the differences. The bicolor version can adjust its color temperature from 2800 degrees Kelvin all the way up to 6500 degrees Kelvin. So that's really great. If you want to match ambient light or a different lighting source, you can adjust it really easily. Now let's talk about the RGB version. It does everything that this one does, including CCT, but in an expanded capacity. So this one goes all the way down to 2500 degrees Kelvin and all the way up to 10,000. So it has a massive spectrum, In CCT mode, the RGB version also has a green magenta shift control. This can be really useful if you're shooting under fluorescent lights, for example, where you need to fine-tune the color cast of those fluorescents. The most obvious reason why you would purchase an RGB light is for the full spectrum of RGB colors. I'm going to flip this on right now, and Kevin's going to stop down just so you can actually see this. Remember when I said this was a very bright light? This is at 1%, just so we can actually focus on it so you can see the different colors here. But with this RGB version, you're going to get HSI modes, you'll get the RGB mode, you also get Roscoe and Lee filter, so those are different gel modes. And you also have an expanded preset memory setting. Plus, you also do get special effects that take advantage of the RGB colors. So where in the bicolor, you get, I believe it's 11 special effects. This one you get 14 plus, so you can do things like fireworks and police sirens, everything that takes advantage of all these RGB colors. And then lastly, another big difference is going to be price. You do pay for all these extra features in the RGB version, but the bicolor is less expensive and it is a very full-featured light as well. So the choice is yours. Those are just a couple of the differences to help your decision making. The only physical difference that you'll be able to tell between the RGB and the bicolor version are the actual LED chips themselves. So over here, the one that I'm holding is the bicolor. And you can see that all of those chips are the same size and we just have two different colors of them. If we contrast that with the RGBW version, we have those two colored chips, but we also have the addition of the larger full color RGB chip in the center. Now it's time for our deep dive into the menus. We're going to start with the bicolor version. We'll go through everything in that light, followed by the RGBW version, and we'll go into absolutely every single thing in the menu there as well. So you can use the chapters below, skip ahead to the RGBW if you have that version, or just start with the bicolor. Now a disclaimer here, we have shot the LDX50 and we have 30 minutes of menus in that light, and the menu system is the exact same as the LDX100. So I don't want to repeat 30 minutes again, so we're going to use that footage. So if the back of the light looks a little bit different, just the battery slot, this is the reason why, but have no fear, everything is the exact same in the menu. Now we're going to go through all of the different menus on each version of the light. We'll start with the bicolor here, and you can see that I've plugged in the AC adapter. So we just need to go over to the power switch and switch it over to the right here, which is the AC. And right away you can see the light is turned on and we have a big power display. So in its most basic function, all we need to do is control the dimming here. And that's done with this dial over here on the right. And so we can rotate that all the way down to 1% and then off. So that's actually really unique in a light like this. A lot of other lights on the market will only go down to 10%. If you think about it practically, there's a big advantage going from 10% down to 1% because there's actually about 4 stops of light there. So being able to dial all the way down is going to give you a lot more flexibility in your light. If you want a quick way to turn off the power on the light, you don't have to scroll all the way down, which can take a few seconds. You can just go to the dim dial here, click it once, and it's going to turn that off. So because this is the bicolor version, you can see on the bottom there that we have our Kelvin displayed. So 5600 is daylight, but we can adjust that all the way up with this left dial. So the one that says CCT, we can go up to 65, which is a cooler light, and then we can go all the way down to 2800, which is a really warm or yellow light. I should also mention I do have the diffuser on there, which is just softening it down a little bit as well. So there is kind of a neat function. This has like kind of the most common presets built into it. So if I go over and just click the CCT/function button, I can go to 32, 43, 56, and then 65. So if you don't want to spend time dialing through, you can just leave those as your presets, and you know that you just click through them and set them to wherever you want. Let's take a look at our special effects now. So to access that, we're going to go and push the mode button, and you can see right away we have entered a special effect. So I'm going to start at actually 1, so let's dial down. So you can see the name of all these special effects in the manual, or if you are connected to the app, which I'll talk about a little bit later, you can also control these. But we have some control in each special effect. So if I go and I push this dial button here again, so we're on special effect 1 and speed 1. If I push it again, now we're on speed 2, so it's just cycling that effect quicker. And if I push it again, most of these will go to 3 speed. So if I rotate the dial, we'll go to the second effect. So you're going to have a bunch of different ones like thunderstorm, lightning, we'll have broken bulb, we'll have campfire, candlelight. There's a whole bunch of them. You can see them. I'll just kind of quickly go through them right here. And because most of these are set to number 1, they're not going to cycle through super fast. And you have 11 of them here on the RGB version. Because we have all the color availability, then we get more and different special effects like ambulance and that kind of thing. So if those are important to you, you might want to consider the RGB, but a lot of you are probably never even going to use these unless you're doing a special video project. So again, whatever effect that you pick, just go to it. We click the button, that will control the speed. And to get out of that mode, all we're going to do is just hit mode. And now we're back to our CCT, or our color temperature mode, where we can adjust the color temperature as necessary, or just click the button to hit our presets like we talked about earlier. Let's talk about the rest of the buttons here. So starting with this little lock button, if I push that, essentially what it does is just lock all the controls, so I can spin the dials or whatever, it doesn't matter. It is not going to move from whatever I have it set. To unlock, just push that again, and now the lock is off and we can readjust. Let's take a look at the preset menu now. I can save settings to a number of different presets, and I've already saved some of them in there, but let's just go ahead, press this button and take a look. So I can scroll through my different presets and P2, P3. I've already saved a bunch in there, but you see the little icon switch. So I have a save and I have a load icon. With ones I haven't saved to yet, I just have the save icon. So I can kind of rotate through those. And I have up to 10 different presets. So let's just, I'm going to get back out of here and we'll just save something. So let's save, or let's adjust this down to, I don't know, 68%. And we'll set the color temperature to 49. So I want to save that as a preset. So I'm going to click the preset and I want to save it to number 1. So I'm going to hit the set button here and I'm going to rotate back actually to my save to override that. So now you see everything changed. So I have saved that now as preset 1. Let's just screw up the adjustment here and go out and load this in. So I hit the preset menu again. Now I'm going to click the button and go to the load. So I'm going to load that 68, and you can see now it loaded back my 68% at 4900 degrees Kelvin. So that's how you can save different presets on this LED. Now we'll take a look at the wireless menu. So you have a number of different ways that you can control this light. So as you've been seeing, we can control it on the dials on the back. You can also purchase an optional handheld wireless remote if you want, or we can also control this by Bluetooth through the Godox Lite app. Now, I probably wouldn't recommend buying the optional controller, especially when you can download the app for free and you don't need to spend any more money, but I'll just show you how to do that. If you hit the wireless button here, now this is going to be for the controller setting the adjustments. We're going to work with this dial over here again. So if I click it once, I can set my group, so I can then use the dial, rotate through whatever group I want. I recommend normally just staying on letters, so we'll leave that on A. If I click it, we'll get out of there, and now I can use the dial again, go up to my channel, same thing, click it in, rotate my channel to whatever I want. You have 32 different channels, so select whichever one you want. Then I can click it again, and I will also see, actually, sorry, rotate the dial. I'll see an ID there as well. Now, if I click the dial again, we can rotate and select up to 99 different IDs. These are kind of just sub-channels. Probably not going to recommend you use this. I don't think you're going to normally get interference with a lot of people using the same light at the same time. But if you want to, it is there. Make sure if you do set that you also have to set it on the controller. A lot of people forget that, so you definitely want to remember that. So that's how to use it with the controller. The other way to control the light remotely is with the Godox Light app. So you can get that for Android or for iPhone, wherever you download your apps from. And to access this, it's already enabled by default, but if I push the wireless menu again, and I just rotate the dial through, on the last one there, you'll see the Bluetooth menu. This gives you your ID, so if you're connecting to your phone, you can see it connecting there. Each light will be different, so if you have multiple lights, you can see their different IDs in there. But if you are having trouble connecting, the best thing to do is to go in here to the Bluetooth, and then we're just going to hold that button down. You'll see the Bluetooth sync or blink right there. That just means that it's reset, so now you should be able to reconnect that to your phone. Now, I'm not going to show it here, but there's a full video which we'll link below where you can go in and see all the different features that the Godox Light app has, and I highly recommend at least downloading that because it gives you another option to control your light. Now we're going to take a look at the RGBW panel. This display is different from the bicolor, but turn it on just the same way. And we are going to be in CT or color temperature control mode by default. And just like the bicolor version, these dials here, so the first one is going to control the power. So you can see at the bottom there, that goes all the way up to 100 and then all the way down to 1% again. So again, having that low end range is really nice on a panel like this, because you have a number of stops from 0 to 10% even. So a lot of panels on the market will not even go down that far. If you want to turn the power off quickly, you don't have to scroll down through it all the way down to 0. What I can do is quickly just push the dim button here, and that will actually turn the power of the light off without actually physically turning the light off. So we can just go right from the back, push the button. You can also do this on the app or on the remote as well. So to change the color temperature control, we use the other dial here. So right now we're at 5400. And what's nice about the RGB version here is we can go all the way up to 10,000 degrees Kelvin, which is an insane range on an LED panel. And we can also go lower as well than the bicolor, down to 2500. So a unique thing with this light, I'll just set this back to around 54 here, is that you have a green magenta color shift ability. So if I hit the set button here, we're going to pop down to the green magenta, and then I can add color shift in there if you find that you need to make an adjustment for a color sensitive shoot that you're doing, or you just kind of like the look when you tune this light. So that's something you don't get on the bicolor, but a lot of professional users really like having that shift control there. Let's go back out to the main menu, and we do that by pushing the mode button here. And I've turned off the back LED lights on our set here, just so we can see what this light is actually doing to the background when we go into RGB mode. So I'm just going to use the dial and flip over to our first RGB mode right here, which is HSI, push the dial in, and that's going to select it. So now at the top, I can rotate through all of these numbers here and select on the RGB spectrum. So if you've got a color that you're trying to match, this is a great way to do it. If you know an HSI number, you just want to go in and hit 290, so perfect. Now this is going to match whatever you were trying to do in your shoot. So this will rotate all the way around to 360, I believe it is. So yeah, once we get to 360, it goes back to 0 and then starts over. So you can see on the background that, that's a significant color change there. But what we can do, if you don't want a color so vibrant, we can control the saturation. So we just click the Set button again, and that's going to drop down to the S menu there. And we use that same dial, and we can dial back the saturation so it's just not quite so vibrant. You want it a little bit more muted for whatever you're doing there. That's no problem, just control it. Most of the time, people are using the RGB for, background effects and that kind of thing. So most of the time, you'll probably want to leave it at 100% saturation. And again, from this menu, we can control the dimming wherever we are. This knob over here will always control that. So let's just hit the mode and go back to the main menu. Our next RGB mode is actually RGB. So if we rotate the dial over here and we click the button to enter it, now we can see the exact RGB code. So unlike the HSI where we just had a number and all the RG and B values are preset, in here we can individually go in and fine tune an RGB color. So I can click into each one just by flipping through them, and then using the dial I can rotate and decide whatever value I want just by going through there. So if you really want to be color accurate and match something else, this is the way to do it. So in addition to RGB, you also have the W value, because this light has the W LEDs, or the white LEDs, that are also controllable. So if you want to fine tune, use that mode. Otherwise, I would recommend just staying in HSI, as it's a little bit quicker to get the value that you want. Next, we have the gel mode. So we'll rotate over there and enter the gel mode. So before I show you anything here, we have to decide what light we want to apply our gel to. So in the industry, you have either a tungsten, a really warm light, or you have a daylight balanced light. So this is kind of an industry standard where you would actually physically go grab a sheet of gel and put it in front of one of those lights. And what this LED is doing is mimicking that. So you just need to decide which light you're going to apply it to. So just like in the other menus, we can click the button to rotate down. And right here on the Kelvin, you'll see 56, which is our daylight, or we can rotate it to 32, which would be our tungsten light. So let's apply it to our tungsten light here first of all, and we'll click to go back up, and you'll see R gel. This is Roscoe Gels, which is a leading manufacturer in the industry for gels. And if you rotate that, we're going to go into L gel, which stands for Lee Gels or Lee Filters, which is the other major manufacturer. So built right into the panel, you have 30 options from each manufacturer. If you're using the app, Godox does add more sometimes, so you might find more options in there. So we'll just use this Roscoe one for right now, and then flip down. And this number represents the manufacturer's gel number. So if you have gels that you've used in the past physically, they're all rated with a number. And that's essentially like just applying a physical gel digitally to this light. And you can see as I rotate, those numbers are going to switch. So they don't go sequentially, like it doesn't go 1, 2, 3. It's going by the actual manufacturer's gel number there. So you have an easy reference. So if we go down, let's apply, okay, we'll apply 80 and see what changes when we go to a daylight. So you can see the color shift there when we rotate that. And I'll just go up and show you a couple of the Lee filters. So same thing, you're just going to have a number of presets. These are all the most popular gels basically that you would use on set. And so let's apply that one to 5600 degrees, and then you can see the difference when I rotate it back and forth, what that does. So if you're used to using gels and you want to match the industry standard, this is an awesome way that Godox provides to do that. Let's go back to the main menu here again by pushing the mode and go into our special effects here. So this is going to be different than the bicolor version. Because we have the RGB, we have a lot more special effects and a lot more ability to tune these effects. Again, this is more easily done with the app, but you can do it from the back of the light as well. So if I click into the special effects, you can see it's going to give it a name. So we're in an RGB cycle right now. And if I just rotate from there, it's going to switch the effect. So let's go down. If I click the button, I can go to the speed, and now I can control how fast that effect is recycling. So there we're on party. We can slow down the pulsing if we want to, like really slow it down, which is kind of really nice. In the bicolor version, we just have speed settings of 1, 2, and 3. Here we have a lot more control to adjust these. So let me just go through. I probably won't explain every one of them, but there's a couple unique ones that I wanted to show you. This is actually unique, the lightning, which is a popular one for film sets or shooting video, anything. We can control the number of flickers between lightning strikes here. So right now we're on 10, so we get the initial burst and then it's going to pulse out 10. And we can control the frequency and number of flickers there, which is kind of cool. So just rotate through, we can go random. There's a bunch of kind of unique settings that we can play around with in the lightning setting. Let's go back up and change now. There's a cloudy one, broken bulb, television, candle, fire. And then here's a couple unique ones which use the RGB. So fireworks, it's going to burst a bunch of different colors there. Explosion, which is also unique to that one. Welding, and here's a unique one as well, police car. So not only can you do police car, you can also change the light color for the police cars. So you can go to like a North American standard or European standard. So you can really match those in there. And again, it's kind of cool. We can go down to the mode and it just changes the blink frequency to replicate different police cars or ambulances, that kind of thing. So we're almost through them. There's 14 on here. Godox occasionally can add more again to the app, and that's where you would find those, but we're back to our RGB cycle. To get out of that, we would just hit the mode again, and then we would just flip it to something else to prevent that from cycling through anymore. Let's take a look at this button over here, which is preset. This light has the ability to save your settings. So if I'm in HSI here, so let's just go, we'll set this to 242. Let's just say that's a common setting that I use when I'm filming. I can hit the preset button here and I can save that. So let's go and save it to P3. We have a bunch of different ones, so we can go up to 16, or actually, sorry. There's 20 different presets. We'll save this to number 3. Just click the set button here, save. Perfect. So let's go back out into the mode and we're going to just change the mode completely. So now I want to load in my preset that I had made. I just click the preset button, rotate to 3. So just with the dial again, click it and it's going to say load, or you can override it if you want, save a new one in there. I click load and I'm back into my HSI setting, which is actually really helpful if you have common settings. So again, like I said, you can reset those if I want to overwrite it, or just bring in another preset that you might have, load or save there, you can see. So let's just load in another one. And there you go, super easy to do. It'll control the mode, the power, it brings all of those settings over. Let's go in and take a look at the lock button here. So if I click this lock, basically it just disables all my control here. So you see the lock symbol when I rotate the dial. No, you can't change it, it's locked. So if you've got other people around your lights and you want to lock them out from messing something up, you just click the lock button. We can unlock it there. Let's go into the wireless mode now. We're going to enter the wireless mode here, and we have 2 ways to wirelessly control this light. We can use the optional Godox remote, or we can get the free app from either Google or Apple. Download that to your phone and you have access to full control at no extra cost. I would recommend going the app way. The remote doesn't have the same kind of control. You get a lot more features with the actual app, and of course it's free. But let me just show you how you would set this light to pair with your optional remote. So in the wireless there, we can turn either wireless on or off, so we can just rotate it there. If I turn it off, I lock in here, let's get out of the mode. You'll see the wireless symbol comes off there. So if I go in, there's no more wireless symbol in there. But if I turn it back on, you'll see that pops up. Sorry, we got to click through there again. Turned on, so let's go into the mode here again. And now you see the wireless symbol with your channel showing up. So if you don't see that, no worries. I would leave it off if you're not going to actually use it. So let's just change our background again here. Go into wireless. So the next thing, if you're going to turn wireless on, you need to set a channel. So just rotate through. You have 32 different channels. You can set whatever one you want. And then you're going to need to assign a group to this light. So if you want to individually control them, put each light that you have on a separate group. Or if you want to adjust them together at the same time, keep all the settings the same, you can group multiple lights into that same group. So say I want to put 2 background lights, I would put them both on A, for example, and then have my key and fill on different groups. Next, we have the ID. This is basically a sub-channel of the channel. So if you were getting interference, you could set an ID. This goes from 1 to 99. I don't normally recommend setting that unless you really have the need to. Oftentimes you're going to forget that you've set it, and then you can't sync your light and your controller together because you forgot you set an ID. So just leave that off unless you really need that. Next, we have the Bluetooth, and this is what we need to enable if we want to use the app. And again, you can download that app for free. It's the Godox Lite app, and we have a completely separate video on that where we go in depth how to sync everything up. All you need to do for this light to sync it to the app is turn the Bluetooth on, and we can just rotate the dial between on and off. Again, I would just leave that on by default. But sometimes you might have paired incorrectly and you can't get it to pair to the app. That's where this next setting under reset will help you out. So this is just going to reset the actual MAC address, or the Bluetooth connection, I should say, to the light. So once you click reset there, it does its little process. You'll see the MAC address. Now that should connect to your phone. If you're using multiple lights, they'll all have an individual MAC address here, so you can determine which light you're controlling by that address. And that's really all there is to it. Be sure to check out that separate video on the Godox Lite app. So that's everything you need to know about the Godox LDX100 panels. Again, it's available in bicolor and RGB. Did I mention that this thing is insanely bright? It's at 2% here, and I can barely look at it. If you're in the market for this light, please consider purchasing from Strobepro. We offer a 2-year warranty, which is serviced in-house here. We also offer you professional support, so if you want to talk to someone about this light, feel free to give us a phone call, or we can also support you by email. If you enjoy sitting through long, boring video manuals like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. It allows us to keep making this type of content for you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, enjoy creating.